just literally walked in from outside and I'm going to give you the Bible verse of the day. I'm going to read the whole thing and then pull out something that we can apply to our own lives. And I got this thing on my arm. Here's a little commercial for the main event. If you want to go somewhere that has laser tag, bowling, or whatever, here is the main event. You go there and let me get this out of my hand. Um, they have a special right now until November 6th. $7 unlimited, I think, for any game. Like if you want to do laser tag all day, $7. Bowling all day, $7. That kind of thing. So that's a little special. It's going on until November the 6th. So hurry up and get in there. It's still freezing in here. I just walked in the door and by mistake I left the air on. So if I shake, you know why. Um, so no, October 29th. That is what today's date is, and this is the message. Hebrews 6:10. Hebrews is a chapter, a book from the New Testament, and it has good information inside of it. So let's just go right into it. I don't have any background for it because I can't remember right now exactly what Hebrews focuses on, but I do know that it's in the New Testament. It has good information, good wisdom in it. Wait a second. Hebrews is the Old Testament. I'm just now opening this up, so this is in the rough. It's not like I perfect any of these videos. I just go right to it and speak on it. So I'm mistaken. Hebrews would be in the Old Testament. Let me just check to make sure. I don't want to tell you anything wrong. But either way, I do remember that Hebrews gives lots of wisdom. I almost want to compare it to the book of Proverbs because Proverbs give you a lot of wisdom too. So let me just check on it right now. I need to get a coat or something. It's freezing in here. Yeah. I was right in first place. Hebrews is in the New Testament. Okay. So yeah, let me just get right to it. Stop all the blabbing. Here goes the verse of the day. Hebrews 6:10. I'm gonna read. Let me grab a jacket first. Um, yeah, he's back here. Okay, I'm back. Thank you for your patience. All right, now, this is my fuzzy wuzzy jacket. I like how it feels. Feels like, how would you think Elmo skin or Big Bird, I always say, Big Bird skin feels. Just cozy and warm. But let me get to it. Okay, so we should be finished with the beginning lessons about Christ. We should not have to keep going back to where we started. We begin our new life by turning away from the evil we did in the past and by believing in God. That's when we were taught about baptism, laying hands on people, the resurrection of those who have died, and the final judgment. Now we need to go forward to more mature teaching, and that's what we will do if God allows. After people have left the way of Christ, can you make them change their lives again? I'm talking about people who once learned the truth, received God's gift, and shared in the Holy Spirit. They were blessed to hear God's good message and see the great power of His new world. But then they left it all behind, and it is not possible to make them change again. That's because those who leave Christ are nailing Him to the cross again, shaming Him before everyone. Some people are like land that gets plenty of rain and produces a good crop for those who farm it. That kind of land has God's blessing. But other people are like land that grows only thorns and weeds. It is worthless and in danger of being cursed by God. It will be destroyed by fire. Dear friends, I'm not saying this because I think it is happening to you. We really expect that you will do better. that you will do the good things that will result in your salvation. God is fair, and He will remember all the works you have done. He will remember that you showed your love to Him by helping His people and that you continue to help them. We want each of you to be willing and eager to show your love like that the rest of your life. Then you will be sure to get what you hope for. We don't want you to be lazy. We want you to be like those who, because of their faith and patience, will get what God has promised. God made a promise to Abraham, and there is no one greater than God. So He made the promise with an oath in His own name, an oath that He would do what He promised. He said, I will surely bless you. I will give you many descendants. Abraham waited patiently for this to happen, and later he received what God promised. People always use the name of someone greater than themselves to make a promise with an oath. The oath proves that what they say is true, and there is no more arguing about it. God wanted to prove that His promise was true. He wanted to prove this to those who would get what He promised. He wanted them to understand clearly that His purposes never change. So God said something would happen, and He proved what He said by adding an oath. These two things cannot change. Number one, God cannot lie when He says something, and number two, He cannot lie when He makes an oath. So these two things are a great help to us who have come to God for safety. They encourage us to hold on to the hope that is ours. This hope is like an anchor for us. It is strong and sure and keeps us safe. It goes behind the curtain. Jesus has already entered there and opened the way for us. He has become the high priest forever, just like Melchizedek. Okay, so what was all that about? We're probably thinking in ourselves, okay, that was a lot of information she just read. What was that all? What did it have to do with? In summary, I'll try to summarize this like an outline. You can imagine that what he's trying to tell us is that, okay, I must speak on this because I don't want it to happen. It's not happening to the crowd that I'm speaking to today, but just in case it's going to happen because I know it has happened before, I want to make it known to you that if you're in the faith of Jesus Christ and you turn your back on Jesus Christ and you try to come back, then that can't happen. It can't happen for you to find Christ, then not want to be with Him anymore and just denounce His name and say, there is no Christ, there is no Lord, and go about your own life and then come back another day and say that, yes, now I do believe in Christ again. Now I want to say a message on the other side of that is that this is actually a human speaking. So he's trying to speak out of the spirit of what he knows about the spirit of the body of Christ. But ultimately, it's God who tells us if we can go in and come out and go in and come out. So he's just trying to warn and say that's not the best thing to do. That's not a way to live. When you come to Christ, you should be able to realize the truth and stick to the truth and say, oh, this is the truth. I'm aware of it, and this is what I'm going to go by. But he's saying that sometimes in your Christianity, it seems you're going to have a lot of trials, like I spoke about a few days ago. You're not going to have everything perfect happen just because you're in the body of Christ. So you're going to have trials that you go through. And sometimes that can deter you or turn you away from the faith because you're like, I'm going through all this stuff and I'm begging out to God and He's not happening. He's not helping me immediately like I want him to do or whatever. God might have a reason for you to go through the problems you go through and you want to escape from those problems, but you can't. So you're feeling harassed, you're feeling bombarded by problems and troubles. So you may be in the mindset of you just want to get rid of all this God talk and go your own way and forget everything that you've ever learned and just denounce the faith. But this person speaking is saying that if you choose to come in the faith, then step out and denounce everything you just known about Christ, and you decide to come back later, that's like crucifying Christ twice. And in the Bible it says Christ died once for all, not twice. So you're outside of the rules. But again, that's a human who's saying this, and he's doing the best to contact his spirit and speak out of his spirit. But ultimately, it's God who says if He'll allow you to come in or out like that. If you happen to make a mistake, you might have been so bombarded, and God sees your heart. He knows that you were troubled and it felt like you were troubled more than you could stand. But in the Bible, it also says that God will never let you have more than what you can handle. So you may feel like that you can't handle it or it's too much, and you might want to back away from everything godly and just go on and live your life. And then you might come back to your senses and open your spirit up and say, okay, I want to be back with God, but that's like crucifying God twice. So it's saying avoid that kind of routine if at all possible. And then it goes into the last part of it is speaking on the promises of God and saying that yes, you'll go through trials, yes, you'll go through tribulations, but just stick on the promises of God. God made promises. He said things like He is your safety. He has what is it? Benefits, or He has. I'm trying to find the exact verse, but it's just He has promises to bless you, that kind of thing. And even though you might look to the left and right and see nothing but trouble and no blessings at all, Stick stick to your faith. Stay with your faith and know that God will pull you out of whatever you're going through. It doesn't matter. You might have to go through it for years in a row. They use a good example of how God made a promise to Abraham. That's what it says in Hebrews 6:13. God made a promise to Abraham. And Abraham believed God in that promise. Even though Abraham was well past age, him and his wife. His wife probably was in what's the word? I'm cold and tired, but what's the word for menopause? For when a woman ages and she's off her cycle and she's not supposed to have a child anymore. But we see these miracles in the news all day long, where you hear about a grandma just out of the blue having a child, and it's just like a miracle. This is the same thing that goes for Abraham's wife. She was way past the years of her having any children, and God just comes into their life and says, you're gonna be the father of nations. And even though Sarah doubted in herself, Abraham just really trusted God and believed what he was gonna do. So since he trusted God, that's what it's all about. God throws out the promise. The whole Bible is full with promises. Feed off of those promises, repeat those promises to yourself. Know that what you're asking for is heard by God, and He wants you to have what you're asking for based on what you pulled out of the Bible. Otherwise, He would have never said it. So He's made promises, many promises to us, that you'll be safe, you'll be without harm, you'll be blessed, those things. Feed off of that. I mean, if you aren't seeing blessings in your life abundantly, then maybe you're not in the Bible, me myself included. It's not like that I pull out verses as frequently as I should. I should me myself know to go into this Bible if I want extreme blessings. But for some reason my mind doesn't set on, oh, I have to get any blessings. I just go through my life and I have my spirit at attention to give God praises. I mean, as random praises, not just to see what He can bless me with. But I should definitely want to get in the Bible and say, God, you promised to bless me as much as possible. So that should be, if I really wanted to see blessings come into my life, I should really focus on that. Maybe I'll start that. I mean, there's always room to grow in your Christianity. Nobody's ever perfect. So, that's what it's saying. Um, God promised to Abraham. He believed in God's promise. And that's what this whole section is about. Trying to tell you, believe whatever God promised you. You may be a Christian. You're going through all these trials and tribulations and you say, what's the benefit of this? But it's guaranteed in the Bible that God is going to bless you. Whether you are blessed on this earth or you're blessed in your afterlife when you die and Jesus Christ raised you from the dead, you're still going to be blessed because that's what God promised you. So it's saying don't give up. Don't reverse your faith. Don't say I don't believe anymore just because I'm not getting blessings. No. In a way, it's almost requesting that we embrace the struggles that we go through, embrace the hard times, and know that God's going to pull us out, and appreciate the hard times, because that's when we really get to see God act out and see how He's going to pull us out of this one. So that is about all that I can really do. That's the summary of the whole thing. First is saying that be aware it's possible for you to revert and just denounce the faith 100%. But if you do choose to live that life, if you ever try to come back to God, it's like you're crucifying Christ twice. And in here, his exact words, the person speaking about crucifying Christ twice, he tells us that those who leave Christ are nailing him to the cross again, shaming him before everyone. So if you wouldn't want to, it's your fault, it's my fault, it's all of our fault that Jesus Christ had to go to the cross in the first place. So in our appreciation, if we had a real sense of the concept of what Jesus did for us, we would know that we wouldn't want him to go through that again. So it's saying that if you decide to, denounce him and leave Christ and then come back, it's like you are nailing him up again, like you're doing this on purpose. And Christ only did it once. And like I said, just live off God's promises because he wants to do the best for you. So that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to go to Hebrews 6:10 and read today's actual verse. Okay. God is fair and he will remember all the work you have done. He will remember that you showed your love to him by helping his people and that you continue to help them. So, God's fair. That's the first thing it says to us. Do you want to know what kind of God you serve? He's a fair God. He's a God that he doesn't want you to be his robot. That's why he gives you free will. If he didn't give you free will, if he wasn't pleased to give you free will, we'd all be serving him like a robot. We'd wake up every morning robotically, serve him in the way that he desires to be served, and go about our way without any choices or decisions. It's just like we ourselves as humans, we're in a way or in a sense we're trying to be like a god when we do things like create robots that can do our work for us. We have no other purpose to create a robot than for it to serve us and have it do what we want. We don't want it to do anything extra. If you worked in a chocolate factory, I like chocolate, so let's use that as an example. If you worked in a chocolate factory and you used to have 10 men who used to crank the machine to however you make chocolate to spill out the loads of chocolate, and then all of a sudden you develop a machine that can do what those 10 men did, and you lay them off, and now you got this one machine in there, and it's pumping all day, and you've programmed it to do what those 10 men did. You don't want one day for it to wake up and say, instead of chocolate pumping today, I'm going to turn this chocolate into a pie. You would be very upset because that's not what your business is. You'd say, I didn't create this robot to make a pie. You'd be upset and you'd probably dump it in the trash and go try to get a new one. God's not like that. He didn't create us to be robots. He created us to have our own minds, to think and do and want to serve him on our own. If if we created the robot, if the next machine that we got in that chocolate factory, if the next machine we got, if it created, if it had the same abilities as the old robot and it was able to make pies, but it was programmed to make chocolate, but the manufacturer knows that one day it could make pies if it wanted to. But instead of making pies the whole time, that robot stuck to its original plan to just make the chocolate and that's it. Then that's what pleases the manufacturer, the chocolate factory, and everything to know that this robot could have done something else, but instead it chose to do what we actually programmed it to do. That's more of an image of what God did. He's not creating us as a robot to say, do this, and if you do anything else besides that, I'm just going to chunk you in the garbage. No. It says in the Bible, I don't know the specific verse, that God doesn't want any of us to perish. But at the same time, he doesn't want you to think you're some robot where you gotta line up and do exactly whatever he says, although he expects that. He expects you not to want to be like the robot and create pies just because you have the power to do it. He wants you to do what you were born to do and stick to the chocolate, so to speak. So that's the kind of God we have. He, like it says, God is fair and he will remember all the works you have done. So our real life, I say this many times, we don't really get that much life, or we don't really have, I mean, today Even though you might see on the news, constantly in the news, you see these stories. Woman lives to 127 years old, and the whole time she ate bacon or she ate chocolate. Okay, those are the miracle stories, but let's be honest. Depending especially on what culture you come from, the culture that I see, you rarely get to make it to 65. So when you begin to get to the age of 30, you look and say, this life is passing by quick. You start looking around, people are dying left and right sometimes. And you say, this life is very short. And if I make it to 65, that in itself is a miracle. So you can imagine a short span. This is eternity stretched out. Imagine my arms just stretched out from here to the other side of the world and touched in the middle. My arms just looped out. That's eternity. And on the scale of that eternity that you're going to have life, your spirit is alive. This is the little section that you're on earth. Those little 65 or so years you're going to be on earth here. And what you do in these little years affects forever. How you're going to live, where you're going to live, what you're going to serve. So while we think we have all the time in the world, we cannot possibly, we might not even wake up tomorrow. We don't know. So many wars and terrorisms and things like that, and just regular life instances that can cancel out our lives. So that's when that thought in our mind, that's one of the thoughts that are really going to snap us back to reality and realize that we don't have all that time to play around. While we're playing around and acting like everything's a joke and God's a joke and we don't have to really serve Him, we're only designed to find our way back to God. That's our whole purpose of being in this world, because you can imagine if you were born, if you're in the realm, there's various realms of reality, of course. Like, just like you can't see the realm where the laws of gravity exist, you can't see the realm where God exists with your physical eyes. And there's a spiritual realm. And you can imagine if you were birthed into that realm where you're in God's world, you're not in this earth, you're sitting on the side of God, the highest of the high, the creator of all things. He's running the show. There's nobody higher than Him, and you're under Him. And you know that if you step out of line, left or right, in the littlest way, He has no tolerance for sin in His presence. So of course He has to punish that sin and most likely even possibly do away with you completely. So everybody who's in His existence and His surroundings, they have to be lined up exactly to what He wants to do, and that's almost like a drone or maybe that's how the angels are. Who knows? But you can imagine. Let me compare that scenario to a human. You can imagine if you know um, let's say for example you have alcohol walking down the street and you are looking, or let's say just a traffic ticket, you are riding with warrants or whatever, and you're every time you make a turn you check behind you to make sure a policeman's not there. You're constantly, the whole time you're driving, you're looking to see if police are there. It's the same feeling if you, with your imperfect self, would be with God right now. Your imperfect self would always be on guard to say, "Oh, I'm not perfect in this. I'm not perfect in that." So pretty much, it's almost like a test for you to be sent on earth away from God, so you can do what you want. And in doing what you want, that's the test. If I gave you the choice, okay, I could imagine I'm God. I'm saying, okay, I could have you in heaven with me right now. But how do I know? I know everything about you. I can see your heart, everything, your intentions. But to prove to you, how can I prove that to you that these are your intentions? How can I show you what your intentions are if I just keep you right beside me? Like for example, okay, I have the picture in my mind. I'm trying to get it out, and this should be solved in about 2 minutes, and I can get back to the verse. Okay, imagine just like when, here's a good example. Back in the Old Testament, when Abraham and Sarah were approached by God, and God told Abraham and Sarah, "You're gonna have a child," and they knew they were well past the age. They were about 100 or so. So God said, "You're gonna have a child," and Abraham believed in God's promise. But inside of Sarah, she laughed kind of like, huh, I'm too old. I'm not going to have a child. What are you talking about? She doubted God. So with her own lips, she could debate him all day and say, if she was untruthful, she could say, I didn't say in myself that I didn't believe you. But God can call her out and say, yes, you did. I can see your heart. I can see your thoughts. I know what you did. You're going to just stand there and debate with me all day long. So imagine you're in heaven. You yourself are in heaven. The heat's kicking in now, thankfully. I can take this jacket off. You're in heaven yourself, and you're around God, the Holy God. So all you're going to want to do is do perfect things. So this is almost like a test for you to be on the earth in your humanity, because right now you're not in God's presence. You have to find your way back to God. And in doing so, you're on earth. You're not in God's presence where you can see his eyes, but he can always see you. God can always see you, but you have to find out who God is, who created you, that kind of thing. So you're on earth, and it's your whole goal to choose God again, because this is the only way that God's going to find out who's really on his team, who would really choose him. I mean, if they have the choice. Everybody who's by him could easily say, oh yeah, I choose you, God. I want to be on your team. But you see that everybody doesn't have that same heart. like like the evil one, for example, the evil one they call Satan, devil, whatever. He's the one. He was right there with God in heaven, but he chose to try to be God himself. Our test in this earth is to find out if we want to be our own gods or we want to serve God. So we have that choice, and it's up to us to decide to choose God or to choose the opposite of God. That's what I'm trying to say. So the picture that I try to paint is images that I'm trying to spit out verbally, but I can't really explain it very well. But I'm just trying to say in summary of everything. Give all that, and here's the summary. You're a spirit from God. God breathed your spirit in your body so that you can exist on this earth, pretty much to go through the test that he needs you to run through. He needs you to not be a robot in his presence. He needs you to feel free and have free will so that you can make your own choice. So that at the end of the day, if you want to serve God, that's what you do. If you don't want to serve God, you have that choice. And that way it's known. God keeps his eye on you all day long, but you have to come to the acknowledgement that there is a God. That's the struggle, because you don't see him with your eyes. And usually what we don't see with our eyes, it's hard for us to count as reality. We're so quick to say there is, like, just recently there was a story in the news where this teacher gave her his or her students a test, and on the test it says, is there a God? And then a girl answers, yes, there's a God. And then the teacher counted wrong, like, no, there's no God. What's her whole intention to try to force her unbelief on somebody who believes? Now, Christians shouldn't force their belief, or anybody shouldn't force their belief on anyone. Give people the facts and let them figure out for themselves. That teacher had no facts to say there is no God. She just went ahead and had her own opinion and said there is no God. You get that one wrong or whatever. And fortunately, that child was smart enough to take it to her parents, and then she got to stand in front of the school board to say, I don't appreciate this teacher telling me that there is no God, etc., etc. But some people don't come to that realization. I'm hoping that you aren't one of them, whoever's listening to this, whether it be in year 2015, year 3000, whatever. Hopefully, you'll come to awakening that there is a God. How else could you be created? How else could this perfection of the sun, moon, earth, stars, cells, atoms, skies, everything, how could all that work together in such a beautiful way? There has to be something ingenious behind all that. We aren't just like a poof or a fort or something that came into existence and then everything just fell into place. Somebody threw something up, blah, and then here it goes, the moon and stars. No, somebody created all of this stuff from scratch, from their own thoughts and their own beauty. You can see even from the human imagination how we create whether it be poetry or pictures that we paint or just beautiful works of art in all aspects. We put that together because we're a creator. And if we're a creator, who created us? The creator of us has to be smarter than the smartest of us. If you think of an Einstein or all the greats of the world who have made contributions to our society and made developments where things are just growing, the internet, this, that. I mean, if we're this smart and scientists with their own lips and their own researches tell you that we only use about 10% of our brain. Imagine what the rest of our 90% of our brain is capable of. And if there's much more to us, who created us? We aren't just some big bang, boosh, big bang. Okay, big bang make the monkey and the monkey grows up into a human being. No, monkeys aren't growing up to human beings. We see that with our own eyes. No monkey has transformed into a human being yet. And we've been around long enough to wait for a monkey to transform into something else. And if we are evolving so much, when is the human gonna turn into something else? What are we gonna be next? An angel or something with wings? Why has the evolution stopped with the humanity if there's such a thing as an evolution? Yes, of course we can look back and say, oh, DNA of the fish looks like a DNA of a whale, except it's an added structure on the DNA. So that's how he developed this. And then the shark turned into a turtle who crawled onto the land, and the turtle turned into a bird and his beak. And I mean, just on and on and on and on until you get up to a monkey, and then the monkey turns into a human. I mean, no, that doesn't even make sense. We are too smart to have been a monkey, a fish, a worm, any of that stuff. I mean, monkeys still can't talk with their lips. I mean, we try to sign language to them. They have some type of intelligence, but they don't have anywhere near the type of intelligence that human beings do have. So there's no way we could get this type of intelligence from a monkey just by adding an extra DNA cell or something like that. God created us specifically for this life. And it's a short span of life, like I said. All this is the test. That's what you can summarize your life as, the test. When you look around, no matter what you're into, what's important about it? Nothing. At the end of the day, what's essential about doing the sinful things against God that you're doing? Nothing. What do you get out of it? Nothing. Usually you're getting some kind of pain. The trick of sin is there's always going to look like it's more fun than what God tells you to do. And sometimes it might actually be more fun than what God tells you to do. But ultimately, if you choose God, you're doing the right thing, just like what we just read. If you stick to what God said, He has promises, He has blessings for you. He has a true life for you is the air back on? So I'm playing a trick on me. Because now I want to put the jacket back on. It's getting cold again. But ultimately, He has a path for you. He has blessings for you. And there are rewards. It's not like you come to Christianity for the rewards only. The whole point of Christianity is that you come here to serve God in the way He designed you to serve. Okay, if you're going to be a resident, this is a better picture of it. If you want to, just imagine your job. You want to work at the Apple Corporation, okay? Well, you know they deal with phones, technology. So if you're just coming out of high school, you're going to go get those qualifications. You're going to go to college and learn technology. So one day you can apply for Apple. But if you want to be in the Apple crew and you say, yeah, one day I want to work for Apple, and then instead you play around, you don't go to college, you don't take any of the courses needed for the position you desire, and then one day, 20 years later, you say, I've always wanted to work at Apple, let me go ahead and apply. And you submit your application, you have no power, experience, no nothing behind that resume, your name. What are the chances you're going to get to work in Apple? Same thing like the kingdom of heaven. You're applying there. This is a job application. These 65 years or so that you're going to live on this earth, that's your job application. You're building your resume. So you started out, of course, a newborn. You've gotten to the age where you're able to look around and you're old enough now to say, I'm an adult. Of course, I don't believe in Santa Claus anymore. And if any kids are watching this, excuse me. But I don't believe in Santa Claus anymore. I don't believe in this anymore. I see things that are false. But there is one thing that I've always heard about that I don't know if it's real or if it's not. So being an adult, it's an important thing for me to know. Is there a God or is there not? So it's up to you to want to, number one, have that interest. Just like the person applying for a job at Apple, they developed an interest. I want to be a part of that group because they are successful and I can be a success too. It starts with the interest. After that, after your interest, research. Just like you're trying to get in that job, you would go to school, research what's needed, what positions are open, how can I get this job. After that, after you research, that's still a process of learning, finding out what's true, listening to all the religions if you need to, and find out which one is really telling truth, which one is promoting violence and things that are obviously against the things of God. Imagine what's necessary for someone to be high, mighty, powerful, a leader, the ultimate God, the top of the top. What's necessary? You can look at any leader. If you're a CEO of a company, you can imagine what qualities does this CEO possess? Okay, he has to be fair. He has to be honest. He or she, I'm saying he, but he or she um, has to have care about who's ever working underneath them, that kind of thing. So you can take the anyone in a high position and see what qualities they have to possess and know that those are the same qualities that a God of the whole world would have to possess plus more. So you can realize that it's a fact. God would have to be loving. God would have to be honest. God wouldn't be able to tell lies to us. God would have to be, just in perfection. Everything that you can imagine perfection is, that's what God would have to be. So start searching and say, which, religion is telling me to do it's telling me that the God is perfect. Is a religion telling me to kill someone? Is a religion, then of course that's not perfection. Why would I have to kill? Is a religion telling me this, that? You have to decide for yourself. It takes your own digging in and your own trying to find out what's going on and what's the truth. And from there, with all that research, all that knowledge, you're opening your spirit to hear what God has to say. And God will help you in this whole thing. All you have to do is say, God, I'm searching for the truth. Speak to my spirit. I want my spirit open to you where I can hear what's really the truth about life. So after that, of course, now you can apply and say, God, I'm on your team. I believe that Jesus Christ, this is your application. Jesus Christ died for me. He shed his blood for me. Now I'm free from all my sins. I was sinful, and that's the reason I need to come to you and serve you and honor you and thank you for saving me, because you made this whole life plan just so I can be saved by you giving Jesus Christ life. That's your application. Submit it to God. Your application is submitted. And God has been there with you the whole time. So you're on his team. You're the one. There is no hiring process really. As long as you sign up, I mean, you have the qualifications. You trusted in Jesus Christ. If you apply to Apple, the corporation, you probably would have to go through interviews and be judged on your statuses and all this other stuff. But that's all it takes is the confession that Jesus Christ died for you. So then you start walking your life like you should be and going by the rules of God, or not rules by God, because it's not even about that. It's about relationship. It's about wanting to do these things freely and not wanting to do the other things that are against what God said. So, like I was saying, I'm going to end it like this. The most important part of the thing I just said was, imagine the things that you're doing. What is causing you to have a separation from God? Um, like I said, Christianity isn't about, and I've read this before. I think Paul said this in a verse I read a few days ago, where he said, "Don't focus on the things that are causing you to argue. Like if you're a Christian, are you supposed to get circumcised and you're bickering with other Christians or other people about, oh, I'm supposed to circumcise, or if you're bickering with other people, was Jesus Christ black or was he Jewish or was it, I mean, those little petty things, they have nothing to do with who God is. The whole purpose is to turn your focus to God. That's what Jesus showed us when he walked in the world. He showed us that everything he did, he gave glory to God in it. He turned his focus to God. If someone tried to give him some praise, he would turn their praise and say, give that praise to God, not to me. That's all it's about. If you're working, if you let somebody trap you in worrying about, is God black, is he white? God's none of those. God is spirit. And as the Bible said, he must be served in spirit and truth. That takes you to awaken your spirit, to develop your spirit, to open your spirit so that you can serve him. That's how you serve him, in your spirit and in truth. Let let no lies exist in you. Work hard to, if you find yourself being a liar, work on turning that into the truth. That's one high trait that many of us have that we need to work on. I mean, I even saw one time a few years ago, this woman talking to her child, and she says the child wanted to tell the truth about something. She says, "Girl, you're you're gonna have to start lying one day." Who tells their child this? You don't have to lie. It's a common trait for humans. We want to get out of something, so we want to tell a lie. None of us are perfect. Like I said, not me even. I'm not perfect. If you considered me perfect, no, I'm not. But as much as it is possible, try to be truthful, honest about everything. Those are some of the traits you got to work out of yourself. It's a transformation. Look at yourself and say, look at yourself in the mirror. Am I the truth or am I not? And if you're not, work on being the truth. Because without the truth, you're just a fraudulent individual. And God doesn't work in fraud. So I'm on various topics. I'm trying to get a good picture of what God's relationship is with us. So you'll know that the sins that we enjoy doing, they're not even worth anything. Just shaping up. I tell myself that. Sometimes it's hard. We don't always shapen up how we should. Um, and if we really love God and really loved the sacrifice that Christ did, we would understand that shaping up is necessary because now we're living the life that Christ would have lived. Okay, so God is fair. That's how it started off. And he will remember all the work you have done. He'll remember all the work you have done. And it's not about what you can get out of God. If that's your focus, change it because that's not, God has a lot to give, number one. But it's like, if you're in a relationship with somebody and you know they're full of love and you're like, oh, that person can definitely love me all day, all night. There's not going to be any problems with them. They have lots of love to give. But are you with them only because of the love they can give you? Or do you actually have some participation and some love that you can give them too? That's the relationship with God. He has a whole bucket full of blessings to load on into your life. But are you focused on what you can get, or are you focused on that I want to be with God because I have a praise that I can give to him? He is high and he is worthy. Let me rephrase that because in this world, high means something else, but in this time and age. But he is most high, should I say. Most high as in holy, that kind of thing. He is most high and he deserves all the kind of praise that as much as possible. So that's what our focus should be. We have to turn ourselves from a me person to a you person and start thinking about serving others and not trying to get from others. I mean, a lot of us these days have grown into wanting to get. Some people only come around other people just for what they can get. What can you give me? You got something to give me? I saw this video today where this woman, her car is supposed to be broken down. The man comes over to look at her car and see what's wrong with it. And while he's bending over checking it and working on it under the hood, she happens to notice his fat wallet is sticking out. So all of a sudden her eyes get big, they're super big eyes, and she gets this thought in her head, oh, let me flirt with him, and she starts, flirting and all this other stuff. And then she tells him to go get in a car so they can be some kind of romantic or something. And she ends up tricking him to get out of his clothes thinking he's gonna get some sex or something. So he's out of his clothes with the wallet, and she tells him, "Hey, go get something out of my trunk real quick, and then we can continue this." He hops out of the car, and as soon as he did to go to the trunk, she speeds off with his wallet in the trunk. So unfortunately, this is the world and the mind frame and the existence we live in these days, where everybody's just looking for the next person. The only reason someone's around you sometimes is just so they can benefit off what you're doing. So that it shouldn't be our mindset. It throws us all off of what God's purpose is about. God can't really effect or do the things He wants to do in your life. Big big things, big holy things, big prosperous things. You can't really get in there because you're blocking Him with this attitude where you think I have to get. That's the thing in your mind, your mindset, your thought patterns, that is life changing. If you sat down and wrote down all the things you think about, the ways you think, am I somebody who, they need to make a checklist which can help you identify how you think, and then this way you can turn away from that. You can identify it, because a lot of people think this is how I was grown, there's nothing wrong with how I think, and this is how everybody thinks anyway. Just like the story I just told you about the woman who said to her daughter, everybody lies, you're going to have to lie one day. That's her mindset. If she sat down and thought and wrote down and answered questions just to figure out who she is or she has become as a person, then she'll realize that these things aren't really the right way to think. I mean, anything that's going to deceive or harm someone else is usually listed on the Ten Commandments, guidelines from God to show us what not to do. And on there it says, don't lie. But somehow this woman has been grown. Maybe her own mother told her, oh, you're going to have to lie one day. But now she's passing it on to her child, and that poor child has got to grow up now thinking, my mom told me one day I'm going to have to lie, so that's why I lied today. You don't have to lie. First of all, it's always about doing something, thinking about what you're about to do so you don't have to end up lying. I mean, everybody can be tempted to lie, but you don't have to go through the things so that you can end up lying. Like, for example, if somebody, if you, I don't know, if you're, adultery is an easy one. If you are in a relationship and you're supposed to be faithful or whatever, it's best if you can't stay in this relationship faithful, just to be honest and say, okay, I do have attraction for everybody else. I want to be with other women, not just one woman. Even though I love you a lot, I do still have that in me to want to be with other people. That is a respectful truth. No matter how much the truth hurts, it's respectful for you to say, I can't handle being monogamous or with one person for the rest of my life. Okay, it's respectful. Now, the person you told that to has the option to say, I'll accept you how you are and wait till you grow out of it, or to actually let the relationship end. But at least you were respectful. At the end of the day, you can have your pride still intact and know that you didn't lie to anybody. But if you choose to stick in that relationship and have all these feelings, oh, I want to be with somebody else, and then want to be sneaky and shady about it and go, and it's always a ripple effect. Either sometimes you get found out about what you did, or you might get an STD, or you might get somebody pregnant. There are so many outcomes from your sneakiness when you could have just been honest up front and didn't have to lie at all. So it's the pre-thought. Before I even go and do this, I have these desires that aren't going away. I want to be with multiple women, not just one, and I've already signed up for one person. Should I just go out and cheat, or should I tell this person I want to end this relationship? It's best to be honest and upfront, because now you got to cover up with more lies. Not only did you lie about your honesty and your faithfulness, now you've got to lie because you've gotten this person pregnant, and now you got to keep that a secret for the rest of your life, past 18 years, not just 18 years, for the rest of your life, as long as that child's alive. Or and now you got an STD, and now you really gotta come tell your wife because you love her enough to not want to spread the STD to her. So you have to tell her and say, I got this STD. I can't have sex with you because I've already cheated, etc. So it's gonna be worse. You've doubled up the pain. It could have been one pain where, okay, you haven't cheated yet, but I respect your feelings. All I can do is let you go if that's what you want to do. But no, you've doubled up the pain now. You've had your fun and it's caused awful consequences. And now you got to come back and tell that you lied about being faithful, and plus you lied about having whatever consequences came about. So always think you're gonna know in yourself what's right to do, what's wrong to do, and think before that what's the consequences, what's the possible outcomes of this if I go ahead and participate in it or not. So that's just it's just all about your thoughts. Your spirit is 100% linked to what you think. God says He reads your heart, but your heart is also your thoughts. Everything's in intact. Everything links up. Your heart, your spirit, your mind, your thoughts. All that works as one. And God sees your shadiness, so you can step up today and say, and today I vow to be shady no more. Somebody wants the truth out of me, I'm going to tell it, no matter how hard it is, because I cannot damage my own spirit, my own soul, by continuously living a lie. Instead, I'm going to step up and be more godly, turn my life around, because I only have a little span of 65 years. And what I do in those little years has much effect on how I'm going to feel when I stand in front of God on my last day, or when I'm raised from the dead. So, because don't just think that I'll run through life for 65 years, I'll kick it. Once I kick the bucket, then I'm just gonna lay in the coffin and that's it. That was my life. I had fun. It was good. No, there is a price to pay, definitely. Just because you don't see it, you don't see gravity, you don't see air, you don't see your cells and atoms, you don't see none of this stuff, but they actually exist. Okay? We don't on a daily see the universe or black holes in the sky, but those things are going on right now, just like the kingdom of heaven is going on. And whether you believe it or not, that makes no difference whatsoever. God's the one who ultimately says what goes, and we're all going to have to face Him one day. So, in yourself, take a note of what you're being sinful at. Make a chance to change your ways. Take the chance. Challenge yourself. And at the same time, when you challenge yourself, you'll help other people around you come up. I mean, Christianity or being goody goody is not what's promoted in this world. If you're bad or whatever, that's what everybody flocks to. Or everybody wants to be a bad bee or a bad girl or whatever. I mean, it's so commonly said, I'm a bad bee. I mean, bad about what? What's bad about? I mean, um, what's bad? I mean, because you could get naked, that makes you bad, or I don't know what we're defining when we said I'm a bad bee. Because and when I say B, I'm saying the first letter of course the curse word BICCA. So people are proud to promote this. I'm a bad. No, for me, I'm proud to say that I wasn't. I'm better. That's what. I'm better. I'm a better woman instead of I'm a bad bee. That should be the trend to go around. I'm a better woman. Because when you focus on I'm a bad bee, all you're focusing on is the physical things, not the mental things. You're just focusing on, you know, all things about you. That's not the kind of lifestyle to live. I mean, you're better than that. First of all, to be calling yourself a female dog. I mean, I don't know. Sometimes, sometimes what's influencing the world is there for a purpose, so that you can downgrade yourself, so you can, I don't know. So just if you notice, evil runs rampant in the world. I mean, like I always say, you turn on the news, there's reports about this has happened, killings, murder. This is running wild in the world. I mean, wars all day, just problems. Where's the good stuff? This is not the world God created. And He's looking for you. He's looking for me to stand up and speak His word out and tell the good parts of life. You don't Do you ever hear something like what I talk about on these videos? If you are familiar with past videos that I've done, where in the world besides your church house can you hear any kind of wisdom or somebody telling some truth? Um, Rarely and on occasion you may be able to turn on the radio and you might hear a song by like a Lauryn Hill or someone like that who's trying to say something in a positive message, or Kendrick Lamar and all these other people, some people who saying positive messages, but that's rare and far from. I mean, and not all the time do the artists, anyone who's saying a positive message, not all the time do their music continue like that. But I'm just saying good, wholesome messages with just some umph to it, where you're trying to tell people there's a better way of living besides what's just commonly done. It takes someone who's not focused on doing what's commonly done to actually tell about what should be done. Because usually, I mean, we're all, as human beings, it's all about trying to be like the next person or better than the next person. So while we're just comparing ourselves to this, oh, this person has a car, this person has a house, this person has money, this person has nice clothes. Those are the four things that a lot of us are just going through life and saying this is what you want to be or better than that. And you'll do anything at any cost to get to those, when it's not even about that. Although it's material things that the world's concerned about, and we're making competition after competition. We got fashion shows, and not focusing on a fashion show, but I'm giving you an example. We're so concerned about the outside. We're doing everything to promote it, and nobody's caring about turning the internal to betterment. We're worried about how can we make our outside look the most fanciest. We're not worried about what can we do inside to develop a better us. So yeah, it's gonna be rare and few. You may be able to go to a church house and hear messages about that there's a better way of living, but other than the church, you don't just see people walking around trying to encourage you, lift you up, tell you there's a better way or anything like that. So I'm just gonna go to the next one. The next part of the message says, "He will remember that you showed your love to him by helping his people, and that you continue to help him." So that's talking about God. It started off, God is fair. Let me read that again because I'm trying to get the picture. God is fair, and he will remember all the work you have done. He will remember that you showed your love to him by helping his people. Okay. And that you continue to help them. So, and you continue to help them. Yeah. It's just saying that these are just a few of the things that God takes note of. And this isn't it's all about what's your intention. That's the number one thing. Besides your thought pattern and what you're thinking about, it's also about your intentions. What's the motive behind what you're doing? Okay, you've come to the point where you realize that you have been thinking wrong and you want to change your thoughts. But doing that too, if you start doing good things like it's saying, helping people, things like that, what's your intention? Is it so you can come to God and say, God, I helped somebody, now help me out, I want your blessing. It's all about your intentions. If you're freely helping people, that's great. If you're helping people for some kind of reward, then you might as well not help anybody at all, really. Just like I'm not sure if when all these videos come out where somebody's going to a homeless man to help him or whatever. I mean, I would think what's their intention behind that? Because this video would mean nothing to me if your whole intention for doing this video is just so that um, you can get a million views. Because of course, as we all know, or if you don't know yet, if you make a YouTube video and you get so many views, they're gonna pay you for it. So that's why people always try to go after views. Oh, you're gonna send me a check in the mail just because a million people like my video? Yeah, I'll go get a homeless person and perpetrate, or even team up with the homeless person, or create my own homeless person and put it on video. So you can't just believe everything you see. It's no benefit in somebody who's faking and just going up to someone just for the views. But if they are really concerned about helping this person, that's what makes it authentic. God's view of us is the same way. If we're doing the things we do out of the motive of getting something, we might as well not do it at all in God's eye pretty much. But if we are doing it with the right motives because we care about someone else and we, like me, I would say this, I'm not getting a penny. I'm not going to, think I have 4 subscribers, even though I'm sure plenty of people watch this video, even if they don't like it or click it or whatever. I'm not doing this for the views. I do this so the message can get out. If someone is searching for this or a message of this type, they can find it. Or especially, I'm doing this for far into the future if someone's looking for and want to hear what God's about. So, and I do this for you, of course, not just for the future, but, it says God will remember that you showed your love to him by helping his people and that you continue to help them. Now I could go on a lot more about many different subjects, but I'm just going to cut it off there and summarize today's message. God is fair. Don't think that all your work is for nothing. God sees everything you do and for everybody that you do it for. Have the right motive. Don't contribute just so you can give, but know that God blesses you, yes, but do it out of the motive that you want to help someone else. And in your helping someone else, God guarantees that he's going to bless you. So it works, it's a whole circle of love. God's there, you're here, you love God, God loves you, you love someone else, they love you for helping, they find out why do they love you, and you point them back to God. So now this person down here who you help is also looking up to God. It's a triangle of love. They want to know why in the world. I mean, if you got help, especially in a large way, you know, say, why would you choose to help me? Why would you do that? Who does that? I'm nothing. I'm nobody. That's what somebody might say. But then you're able to tell them, I helped you because I love God and God loves you. And when they see that love, this is what can affect the world. They see that love and then they give God praise and thanks because they're helped out of their hard situation. And it's a triangle of love. That's what God's trying to create. A triangle of love. Love your neighbor. Neighbor loves God. God loves you. And back and forth. Nothing but love there. So make sure that all your relationships are just like that. No problems, no trials, no bickering. It should be smooth sailing. If someone really loves you, you should be able to tell it. Okay, but that is about it. I'm just gonna cut it off right here. It is now 11:30. Wow. But hope you enjoyed the message, and I will definitely make it a point to be here on tomorrow. I definitely will because I'm off tomorrow, so I should definitely have some time. But good night, everybody. Our Father who is in heaven or wherever you want to be, anytime you want to be, holy and high and mighty is your name. Your kingdom will come and your will be done on this earth as it is in your kingdom in heaven in the spiritual realm. Give us this day our daily bread. Thank you for the ability that I was able to eat something today. And thank you for everybody else who had a meal. Anyone who didn't have a meal, I pray that someone will bring them one. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Forgive our sins as we forgive those who have sinned against us. For it's yours is the kingdom, the power, and glory forever and ever. In Jesus' name, amen. Bye-bye.